Hi, welcome everybody. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. We have a full house today. If you are joining us for the first time, if you can locate your chat box, we would love to know where you are calling. What part of the country are you calling in from? Drop in the chat. Where are you calling from? We got Tucson, Arizona. We have Santa Monica, Indiana, East Texas. Welcome, everyone. Oakland, California, Florida, Phoenix, Washington, DFW. I know I should know where that is. Illinois, Denver, San Diego, Palm Beach Gardens. Awesome. Welcome. Denver. If you're just joining us, please feel free to find your chat box. Tell us where you are calling in from. Denver. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. So I want to get started right away in honor and respect everyone's time. Thank you so much for being here. We welcome you. My name is Mayumi Young. I'm the founder and CEO of CPA Moms. We are here and happy to be the host of today's conversation. And we have two experts joining us today to help educate our entrepreneurial community and provide resources to everyone on all the latest and greatest changes that we are noticing. We are working as quickly as we can to make sure that we are not only staying current and relevant, but that we're also able to get all of that information to you as quickly as possible. So thank you for joining us. Some of you just got the email or the Facebook post just in the last few hours. So those of you who got the last minute request and are here, welcome. Thank you for being here. So I wanted to first just take a minute and introduce the two professionals that we have here who are really going to be providing the bulk of our conversation and content. I'll facilitate the discussion and the dialogue. And I'm super, super excited to introduce both of these professionals I've worked with now for quite a few years. First up, we have Laura Johannes. She is a CPA. She's actually one of our core community members here within the CPA Moms National Network. She has over 20 years of experience and expertise in both accounting and tax. She's been an outsourced CFO, tax planner. She's worked with business strategy, business advice, consulting, coaching, you name it. She's been a resource to entrepreneurs and investors for an extensive amount of time, and she has been an invaluable resource to not only our entrepreneurs and her own clients, but to the entire CPA Moms network and providing resources to other CPA moms in our CPAs in our community. And it's really been a privilege to be connected with her, who, you know, in the devotion that she's had to staying current with what's going on. We also have on the line Michael Sims. Michael is coming here as one of our community advisors, an extension of our resources that we provide to the CPAs. Michael has over 10 years of experience in the domain of business coaching and advisory, and he has been a member of different CPA networks, including our own here at CPA Moms, providing resources. And really, he's somebody who uses financial insurance products to monetize revenue streams. And his whole intention is to be of service and to be of value to not only our community of CPAs, but to our entrepreneurs as well. And he works really closely with the CPA moms as CPAs in our network to really empower us with resources so that we all have the latest and greatest. This is a shared collaborative community that we're part of. And so very excited. Now, both of them have each individually devoted an enormous amount of time personally to stay current. I mean, if you count the number of hours in the last month, ever since this pandemic hit, and the amount of time that they've spent personally just diving in, getting educating, staying current, and remaining that way every single day, it's countless hours. And they do so in stay connected and in communication with their clients and with our community. So I just say, really, thank you. I appreciate all of you for taking that extra step, going above and beyond the call of duty, and really staying educated. And I want to give each of you a chance to Share your knowledge and wisdom. Those of you who are on the call have questions. Hold those questions for just a moment. We're going to give you a chance now that you've all found the chat box. And if you're just joining us for the first time, we'll give you a chance to say where you're from. But we're going to allow you to ask your questions. So you'll be able to put your questions in chat. I'll take them as quickly as I can. But we want to first just give you some basic education and some updates. As you may or may not know, based on the email we sent and the Facebook post we had, there's a lot going on. And just in 24 hours, the entire conversation we had planned to have today completely changed in the last, not even 8 hours. So you are getting off the presses, like this is real-time news that we have. So I'm gonna start with Laura, and I'm gonna ask Laura to just give some basic education. I know we've got CPAs on the line, we've got entrepreneurs on the line. I wanna start with the basics, because depending on how much you've seen and what you have paid attention to, you may not even understand what CARES Act even means. What in the heck are we talking about? So if you can just very basic talk about from the funding perspective, because this conversation is really devoted predominantly to what funding resources there are available to you right now, today, as in April 16th, 2020. And where do you go to find those, and how do you go find those, and all of that. So can you just walk us through just the very, very basics first?
Yes, hi, and it's nice to be here. Thank you, Mayumi, and thank you, Michael. So I'll just go a little bit from the beginning, and it's so interesting that from the beginning, the CARES Act really attracted just the big rocks. So I'm like, okay, here's a loan up to $10 million. Everyone jumped on EIDL. EIDL is the Economic Disaster Loan. So if you have suffered, they're saying a partial or a complete loss of, or 50% is how they define it, of revenue, you qualify for EIDL. So everyone jumped in here because it originated with a $10,000 grant option, and people flocked, or businesses flocked to this EIDL option to get a 10,000 grant, which literally you don't have to pay back. So I think that's why we're facing this problem right now, because people, without thinking if they qualify, everyone applied for EIDL, even though they not said they need it or not, but they just that it's 10,000 free money, let's get it. So that's the first one. Everyone jumped on it as soon as possible, as soon as it was out. And the other big element that was in the CARES Act was the Payroll Protection Plan. And this, the beginning, it's the funny thing is how we watched this. The name changed, right? It was a forgiveness loan. It was 7B, 7A loan. So it changed names. Now it's Payroll Protection Plan. And in the beginning, it wasn't limited to just payroll. Right now, it's really heavy focused on payroll. You can't take more than 25% out of the loan to use for rent, utilities, mortgage. So looking at those two options are the biggest components that really were part of the CARES Act, where the majority of funding was available. So if you are a small business, now define small business, right? So if you are a small business, and that includes majority of the people in our community, I see are single member LLCs, S corps with one shareholder, or maybe husband and wife shareholders, or maybe one or two, sole proprietorships with the DBA, and all these people get included in these loans. And how it's one of the biggest things that I really want to mention, if you are an owner today and you thought that you can apply and get money for all the people that you pay, and you use independent contractors, which majority of us use independent contractors. Now the rules have changed, and each independent contractor and an owner of his own has to apply for his own loan specifically. You can't go and get the money. Yeah, so I don't want to be confusing to this, but if you have your own company or if independent contractor, you have to apply by yourself for the loans, and you can request money for your expenses and for your payroll, not necessarily for independent contractors. That's one of the biggest developments right now, that people did not know they qualify to apply. I hope that wasn't too confusing. I know there's so many elements in here, who and what loans. Those are the biggest elements in the CARES Act. And now, since this morning, EIDL and PPP were out of funds, we find out there's so much more funding available. We have other options. So there's relief, okay? So I don't want us to panic. panic doesn't lead us anywhere. There's options, the CARES Act, and maybe, you know, maybe later on when we move through this, I'll present you a few options they have right now. They might not be so appealing. It's not going to give you and promise you $10 million, but they're little options, almost like micro loans throughout different agencies that I can present to you, and there's still options for you if you're a small business and struggling. So there is hope. We really foresee that there will be more funding available. So get your package ready, get your tax returns, your bookkeeping straight, because there will be more funding. We're almost positive of that. So don't lose hope, get ready.
So I'm going to pull up on the screen, because some of you are visual. I'm going to actually share aspects of the SBA.gov, because I went there, and the first time I went there, if you're busy and distracted and you got a million things going on, you know, and you read it quickly, you're like, I don't even know where I'm supposed to go for all this stuff. What am I looking at here? Is 7A? What's that? And which one is, you know? So we're going to actually pull up on the screen what the SBA.gov site looks like, and we're going to take you exactly to the places that we believe that you need to focus on. And we'll talk about what each section means in just a moment. But I want to give Michael a chance to add anything to just, again, very high level. We're not going to take, we're going to go down into each one in a moment. And we're going to talk about different options, but just high level, where are we? What
and I think it's important to recognize that the rationale behind the stimulus program is in the uniqueness of this pandemic is shutting the economy down. If everyone went to unemployment and we paid through unemployment and employers declared bankruptcy and shut their businesses down, in 8 weeks when the dust has settled, the time that it would take to gear back up and get the economy rolling again would be torturous. And so the concept of is, hey, we're going to provide this money through the SBA. Then the Treasury decided they wanted to get involved and create the funding for the SBA to manage, but get it out to business owners so that they can retain their payroll, keep people on the payroll, and essentially put them in a idle mode. So that, you know, if you think of two drag racers and one guy's got his keys locked in the glove box and he's completely shut off, and the other one is in idle mode and the green light goes on, that guy in idle mode just throws it in drive and takes off. And that really was the intent. Now, with the EIDL, as Laura mentioned, several iterations, that was funded for $10 billion. They've had over $400 billion of applications come in for that. So it's been, that's been used mainly in small geographies, not a national situation. The Payroll Protection Program, as she mentioned, while they've only sent about $85 billion out through the banks, we expect tomorrow the bulk of the funding to start being released. They've got commitments for the full $350 billion. There is an act in Congress for another $250 billion that just is needing approval in Congress for the president to sign, and that money will free up and come through. But since this is such a new and really dynamic process, they've been having to figure it out as they go along. So that's why, you know, as Laura has been spending every day and I've been spending every day for the past month plugging in, these programs have literally morphed and changed, and they continue to do so. So my only, you know, admonition that I tell the CPAs I work with, the entrepreneurs and business owners, you know, don't get your information off of LinkedIn. Don't get your information off of a website, because that's old news. You know, figure out who your partners are that have accurate, up-to-date news, and go there first, because I've seen CPAs post information that's 3 days old and they're talking about using all their 1099 income to help create their PPP loan. It's just wrong. And you don't want to put that out there and have to backtrack on it. So it's very dynamic, fluid, and unfortunately chaotic. But I think the round 2 of funding will be better. There are talks of 3 and 4 rounds of funding to these programs. So as Laura said, no need to panic. It's actually going to get better, and people are going to actually know what they're doing to make the process smoother.
And with that being said, if you didn't have yourself prepared and you didn't have your applications ready and your financials ready and you weren't ready to hit send, now is the time to do that. You do not want to wait for Congress to say yes and then get yourself ready. Get ready now so that when they say yes, It's first come, first serve. You want your thing right in line with the application. You want to know which bank you're applying to. You want to know which loans you're applying to. You want to have your ducks in a row. You don't want to mess with any of that. You want your application signed, PDF, and all you have to do is click send. So that's what we want to be doing in the next days or weeks until they say.
And I would love to know, Laura, what you've seen. I know, we have seen the large banks really drop the ball. And for me personally, and it's my personal perspective, the people who sat at the trough in 2008 to get bailed out basically have created hurdles for their entrepreneurs and their small businesses. They've taken care of their big clients, but they have not served their communities very well. We're finding the local community banks, we're vetting a few online portals that can get money. We don't announce them until we know for certain they're actually monetizing applications. But we have found, by and large, the community banks, the smaller banks, the regional banks, the ones who have their roots in the community are the ones that are working the hardest in getting the money out to the small business owner.
Yeah, and it's very interesting that you say that, because I mean, I don't have anything against. I have accounts in money banks because you have to diversify. And one that stands out is Citi. Citibank is just and we have the same issue in 2008. And I was with the real estate investment community in 2008, and it happens again. And they bailed out. They don't want to process the loans. They don't want they just don't want to deal with it. Right. And
they don't make enough money. But this is not.
But they make 5%. I mean, that's a conversation I'm not going to have. I don't make 5% of a loan.
Right.
I don't charge anyone 5%, and I can still manage my time. I have a family to run. I have to take my time from everything else to serve the clients. I'm just one person with one firm. Right. And if I can take my time, Citibank could take their time for 5% of the loan.
Okay, so I'm going to interrupt because we're all going to end up on a soapbox.
Situation. They have to get it out, or else the clients are going bankrupt. We're going to end up on a
soapbox. Yeah. So I'm going to rein it in, do my job, rein this back, because this is not a beat up on big banks conversation. And yet, point taken. So those of you who are looking for where should you be submitting your applications, the first place is almost always going to be where you currently bank. I always say, and I've said this in the beginning of time for entrepreneurs, your bank is only as good as your banker. Every time my banker left, I left with them, because it was hard to find a banker that would take your call and deal with you in your personal situation and didn't treat you like a number. So your bank is only as good as your banker. If you've got a great relationship with your banker, this is the time you pick up the phone and you call your banker and you say, here's what I'm trying to do, help me out. If you don't have a relationship with a bank, and you want to start looking, this is the time to build a relationship. They want your deposits. They just struck gold with what happened, right? All the money has to flow through them. So this is giving them opportunity to create new relationships if they do it right. So we're suggesting that whoever you choose to bank with, and we're not going to take any sides, whoever you choose to bank with, you want to make sure you have a good relationship with that banker. Do it now in this process, and that'll give you a good test of any circumstance that you need to go to that bank for in the future. I'm going to share my screen right now, and I want to just talk really high level so we create a visual for our community here, those of you who are visual. If you are taking notes, if you don't have a piece of paper and a pen, I want you to write stuff down, please. This is a good place to start. SBA.gov. Now, I went here, I was busy, I didn't take my time to look around, and I was like, I don't even know where I'm supposed to go. Funding programs, business guides, what am I looking at? So you want to click on the very top margin where it says coronavirus, blah, 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 relief. Okay, so now you're here. It's got all kinds of stuff. Now you could get lost just right here on this one page. Like, where do I go? What am I doing? So let's just go really slowly through each of these sections. So here we're talking about different options that are related to the coronavirus. So there's some stuff in here. So SBA is Small Business Administration. If you have an SBA loan, that means that the government is placing a guarantee. It's kind of replacing your collateral. And the government is guaranteeing your loan with a bank. So you don't have a loan with the government. You have a loan with a bank, and the government is your collateral against the loan. That is what the SBA loan functions, how they function, what they're there for. So we're going to dive into this. This is really where we're going to spend most of our time here together. And this is where, when we were talking earlier, when Laura was speaking, she said Paycheck Protection Program, formerly known as Forgiveness Program, also known as PPP. EIDL, the Economic, Injury
disaster loan.
Injury disaster loan, EIDL. It's an actual advance, and they changed this. Originally it was 10,000, then they said 1,000 per employee. Every day they're making up the rules as they go along. Those are the two programs that were put on pause today. They basically said, we ran out of money, we're not taking any more applications, and then the banks followed suit. There may be a handful of banks that are still taking applications. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So these are the two that Laura mentioned that are on pause. This
Well,
SBA,
now, Mayumi, just for clarity's sake,
yes,
you're going to apply at the bank
yes,
for the PPP program.
yes,
The EIDL, you go back up to the top, your application for the EIDL is right there in the text, right? You're going to go straight to the SBA site. Actually, the website is corona19relief.sba.gov. /#
I'll pull this up, or maybe you can drop it in the
Yeah.
chat for us in a
And
second.
that just takes you right to the application.
Right, so there's an online application, so excuse me, yes, I stand corrected. So the PPP program was what you applied to a bank of your choosing that was accepting this program. Not all of them do, and there's a list of banks that do accept the loan, and then you would apply directly to them. The EIDL loan, yes, it was directly with the SBA. It was an online application, and we'll pull up the link. I think the application form, I don't know if it's still allowing.
It's right there.
It's
It's right there, the application. So yeah.
Well, when I clicked it, it didn't open up the page. It used to just be the actual application itself. So anyway, so we'll get back to that, but let me talk about these other two. So Laura, can you talk us through this SBA Express Bridge loan, please?
Yeah, so do you mind if I go a little bit on the other two? So it kind of gives us a little bit more, to ground us a little bit more. So I have applied for many loans in the past weeks, and I just want to kind of ground the information, the feedback that we got on applying multiple loans and multiple companies to see how that rolls out. So the PPP loan, the original guidance was you cannot get more than one loan per company that you apply for. Now we're finding out that we really kind of waited on the big banks, and they dropped the ball, exactly as Michael said. And my recommendation is, if this comes back up, this is my strategy for all my clients. We apply in as many places as they accept us. And it might sound odd. This is my strategy for all the clients. I've just applied today. Literally, I was on the phone with the client before this webinar, and we applied for another loan. And I said, as many banks, we can accept one, not and decline the others, but we can apply in as many places as we want. We cannot accept more than one loan. So, and the one thing that I wanted to mention here as well, yeah, the SBA is backing it up, and you apply with the banks, local banks. Not just banks, we have lenders. We're working with lenders that are not traditional banks, that are actually are yielding much faster, much better results than the banks. And we're learning. No one told us. We all went to our bank. We went to Wells Fargo. We went to Bank of America. Bank of America is they have no idea. We tell them that we're an S Corp, and they say, well, where's your Schedule C? And they just don't get it. And, it happens. But my point here is, we apply in as many places as we can get accepted. If you need more than $200,000, you still will need some collateral, okay? You will need a personal guarantee. Now, they cannot decline you, but they have to have that form in. Majority of the banks or lenders, if you need more than $200,000 for the PPP loan, they will still require that information. So keep that in mind. So that's the PPP. On the EIDL, it is closed for now. You can't even apply. It's that site is shut down for the moment. But you have the information that you have to get ready is everything that you have in working capital, everything that you need. And the biggest development here was independent contractors. That was one of the biggest things that changed from the beginning to now. And you can still get $10,000. However, if you have employees, right? So here again, you can use the funds for payroll in EIDL. You can use the same funds for the same purpose in two loans, but the funding, that initial 10,000, will be based on how many employees you have. So if you have 10 employees, you can still get $10,000 on that. That's the only comment I want to make on EIDL. It's still 1%.
Well, let me just clarify, because some people are just joining us. So EIDL, both PPP and EIDL, for those just joining us now, are both closed for the moment. There are no more applications being accepted for the moment, but we are expecting a future tranche of funds to be passed by Congress and be available. So we want everyone to be prepared. So I want to emphasize that. But we are talking about it because we expect these to go back online. And when they do, you need to understand what to do and where to go. So my understanding is that this $10,000 is an advance. If you use it for payroll, then you don't have to pay it back. But I also understood that it was $1,000 per employee up to 10 employees. And then the other piece that I understood was that it was not available to independent. If you are yourself not an independent contractor, but you paid independent contractors, it can only be W-2 employees. So can you just clarify those two things?
Yeah. So it is confusing. So the point that I really don't like how they connected the $10,000 grant to the employees, because it has nothing to do with the employees. EIDL has nothing to do with the employees. It's working capital. EIDL, they allocate that $10,000, up to $10,000 based on how many employees you have. And all the funding that we have seen, if you have one employee, or you're a solopreneur, or you're a single member LLC, or you're an S Corp with yourself only that works in the business, you get $1,000. So you don't, for the EIDL, you don't have to use it for payroll. It's just that initial funding of 10,000 or up to 10,000, it's released based on how many employees you have. It makes no sense if you ask me, right? But that's the rule. It has nothing to do with payroll.
Contractors, right?
No, so each independent contractor has to have his own application for his own EIDL loan advance.
Okay, great. So I want to go through a high level, the other ones, so that we can just talk high level, and then we're going to go to questions because we already have questions coming in. Those of you who have questions, you've been saving them, go ahead and start dropping them in. We're going to go right to those in just a moment. So the SBA Express Bridge Loan, high level, can somebody share with me, Laura or Michael, what is this loan and who is it for? And is it still open? Laura, I believe this one is still open as something that you're using right now with your clients. So talk about this one a little bit, please.
Yeah, so for the SBA Express Bridge Loan, you have to have an existing relationship with the SBA. That means you have applied and you have been denied. So this is on our back burner in the sense that, we have EIDL loans in place. If we get denied for various reasons that we don't qualify, if you're a corporation and you didn't file your documents correctly, or you chose to apply even though you didn't qualify, then we apply for the SBA Express Bridge Loan. So you have to have had something in place with the SBA before. Now, PPP is not SBA. PPP is local lender backed up by the SBA. So just because you applied for the PPP does not mean that you have a relationship with the SBA. So that's the element right now that we're working through, and this is valid as of today. Okay, ask me tomorrow and I cannot guarantee the information might be accurate. So this can only give you up to $25,000, and it's a quick, if you are in the system, it will be a quick release of working capital, 25K. Again, the element there is, so this is not limited to the COVID-19. If you've had 7A loans with the SBA in the past, you have a relationship. You can go and ask for the SBA first.
Is that ever, or just you have an open loan? So if you
we don't know for how long. So not open loan. If you have a relationship with them right now. So the SBA Express Bridge and SBA Debt Relief are for people or businesses that have an existing loan with the SBA. Now that could be they have an EIDL that was rejected, right? Or they can have a 7A either in place or applied for or put on standby. Okay, so the first one gives you a quick 25K working capital. That's the first one. And the SBA Debt Relief It literally, it's a deferment. It's a deferment for the people who have like 7A loans or micro loans with the SBA already in place before this crisis began.
So there's a 6-month deferment based on my read of this. So we'll talk.
Well, and when you say deferment, the SBA debt relief, the SBA is going to pay the principal and interest for 6 months. They're not adding it on to the end of the loan. They're not rolling it up and springing it on you. That you're not going to pay, and they're going to write it off their books as having been paid. So it's a free, in essence, a free 6 months of paying your SBA loan.
Really great. Okay, so that was high level. We'll come back into more detail in a moment. Want to
Can I
come
make a
back
comment,
to
Mayomi? Can I make a comment on the SBA loans?
Yes.
My understanding and what we got as a result of this is that if you're trying to apply for regular SBA loans right now, everything is suspended. Nothing is through the SBA right now. There are other options through local banks that are working with the SBA, but via the SBA programs, many of them are suspended. So we found out just today that there are some other funding options related to, we'll go through that.
Now.
Yeah,
We'll tag that on the end. So I want to walk through the rest of this SBA.gov page for everyone. And because you keep seeing 7A and all kinds of other things. So I want to make sure people know where to find this information, and then we'll go right to questions, and then we'll come back to now what? Where do I go? What do I do? We'll kind of bookend back to you guys in a moment. So we talked about this. This is where you can see lapse in appropriation notice that everything has been stopped for the moment. All right, and then here's some just basic guidance. You can read that if you'd like, but when you want to know more about the actual loan, here we go. So you scroll down to where it says access to capital. So when you hear Laura talk about 7A program, this is what the SBA pre-COVID normally provided entrepreneurs through their banking relationships. The 7A loan was a normal product that you would apply for through your bank, and that would be backed by the Small Business Administration. This express loan should not be confused by the express
Bridge.
loan, the SBA Express Bridge loan. These are not the same product. This is different. Community Advantage, 504, and microloans. These are the normal SBA loans, and this is what Laura is saying in her experience with her relationships. The SBA programs and the lenders are putting this on the back burner for the moment so that they can focus on COVID-related programs, which is on this page. So I wanted you to see that this is what traditional SBA lending, these are the terms that you may have heard, and this is what is now available. Again, these two are paused. So we'll come back after questions to talk about where do I go, what's available, what should I do, can I apply for more, like all that. So let's start with questions here. So I'll go first to Joel. Joel, thank you for your question. He says, I have a startup B Corp that is in the red. I'm the only employee, no payroll, never paid myself. I'm bootstrapping. 2020 is a little better, and I was intending to hire myself. Can I use the PPP, assuming more funds are coming, to hire me and maybe another? So no employees now yet at the time of COVID, and I believe there was a line in the sand where they say, as of this point, and I'd love to know what that date was. I think it was February something.
February 15th.
February 15th, you had to be in operation prior to February 15th.
And what about the employee status? So if he didn't have any employees prior to February 15th, is he eligible?
The PPP is based off of either if as a S Corp, your wages from the trailing 12 months or fiscal year 2019. So W-2 wages and taxes that were paid, in some larger cases, contributions to employee health plans and contributions to retirement plans, but you had a cap. It couldn't be more than $8,333 per month that you could use, $100,000 year salary.
And I believe they took 2.5 months. So they took the average, and it was 2.5 months is the maximum PPP loan that you could apply for the.
Right, it's 2.5 times what your average
2.5 times.
is. Yeah. So if you don't have, and that's kind of that's the challenge. That's why when they open for the independent contractor, they want Schedule C. You know, wherever you're showing your earnings from your entity, they're going to average that on a monthly basis and multiply it by 2.5 to calculate what the loan amount would be.
Okay, so this is specific to PPP. So then the answer, it sounds like, is no.
Can I add to it?
Please, yes, Laura, go ahead.
So here's my take on it. I know you take it. Again, I'm not giving you specific advice, but here's my take on it. You know, in doing our due diligence and seeing exactly why you qualify, if independent contractors, single member LLCs, which is the majority of the small businesses, right? And sole proprietors that have a DBA are required to go and apply for their own loans, I must dispute that, yes, you apply for the PPP, you get your net earnings. I'm going on your tax return, I can tell you net earnings, what is it, your net profit? I'm looking at your Schedule C, what have you reported? I mean, I'm taxed on it, that's my earnings, that's my wage. Yeah, I'm not paying myself because I'm sole proprietor or single member LLC filing on my personal income tax return. So I am gonna use my net profit, my net earnings, and if that's 50,000, that's 50,000. If that's 100,000, I can use only 100,000. And I can still get 2.5 months. That's what, $25,000, whatever that amount comes to be. It's still something that you can get, and it's not. And here's the catch on that. When you apply for the loan, you have to say the percentage that you want to use for payroll, for utilities, for rent. If you're a single member LLC, in this case, you're an S corp, or that you file in the K1 that comes from your own earnings, I would dispute that you used 100% of that as your pay. So you have not been paid from your company for 2.5 months, right? And that amount will be 100% payroll for you, or wages, or, you know, there's, again, bankers will and loan officer would fight with us on the, oh, that's a distribution. So looking at this, I would really dispute that. Yes, as an independent contractor, single member LLC, you go and you qualify under my understanding of the new guidance that has been released, and I would apply for the PPP.
And I completely agree. We're advising sole props and independent contractors, take your Schedule C, take your tax return, take your P&L, show them, you know, you're living off the net income of that entity. That's how you're going to justify the highest amount.
Yeah, and I want to add here, Joel, so B Corp is a certification. It's not an actual legal structure. So underneath the B Corp, you had to be organized somehow, right? So you're either an LLC or a corp or a partnership or something. B Corp is a certification, not a legal entity or a tax entity. So this is a really good time to make a disclaimer, which I probably should have said from the very beginning. This is not advice, ladies and gentlemen. This is educational. This is resources. Everybody's situation, as we can tell with this one situation, we've got an entity structure with unique situations with employment. This is normal for the type of clients that we typically would work with. You know, businesses that have less than 3 employees, that have unique situations and different types of legal structures and tax structures and all of that. So your situations are going to be unique. At the end, I'll tell you how you can get very specific advice for your situation. But in this conversation, we have to be limited and sort of somewhat general in how we answer the question, because we don't have enough information about your specific situation. But we'll do our best to answer enough around what this was. And I think the key there was, he said it was in the red. So, you know, when you're starting to calculate this, it gets nuanced. So the best answer is, hopefully you got a lot out of that interaction that kind of gets you on the green. I think the answer is maybe, and you probably should talk to an expert about your specific situation about whether or not it makes sense to apply. For Karen, and I did see Farouza, Sid did see your hand go up, so we'll come back to you after I get through the rest of the questions. So Karen had a question, same as Joel, no corporation, consulting and coaching company, same question. I think Karen, that Michael and Laura just answered your question by talking about, you know, sole props and single member LLCs. So hopefully Joel and Karen, if you could just comment and let us know if your question got answered, and we'll come back around to you. Armand, yes, we know EIDL is closed for now, but we do expect it to reopen. Terry, and keep your questions coming. I'm just going to keep rolling through them. Terry asked, I have a single family vacation rental Airbnb and VRBO, no employees. What can I apply for?
So yeah, go ahead, Michael.
I was going to ask, what's the structure? Is it in an LLC? Is it in your name? I mean, how do you report income from it? So
Tara, if you can comment and actually, you know what, let me.
Yeah, so
I'm gonna make
I'll
this
add a
little bit-
comment. Yeah, so even if you're an investor and you know, and you have, like, I have one client with 40 rental units, like single family homes, and the renters are not paying. So you're an investor, right? You know, even though you are not structured, you have lost your investments there. You, depending if you file a Schedule C, right? That's the term. Is it a business or just a purely investment? That's the biggest element. So if you group the activities, if you have, you know, many of them in one place, that you group them and you consider it, or you're a real estate professional, yeah, that works. If you just have one, unfortunately, it's a capital loss. So that's how I would take it. That's how I would. So the distinction is: are you a business or are you just an investor?
So I'm trying to unmute. Terry, can you try to say something? I try to make you able to speak here.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
It's a sole proprietorship with a DBA.
Yeah, that's great. So that means you do have it under, you know, you do have a DBA, which you can prove that, and they will ask you for the information. They will ask you the filings with the county. They will ask you for the bylaws if you're an LLC. They will ask you for the information to show that you truly are a business. So if you are a business, and let's say you have a, you know, property, and you might have a laundromat, which is really common depending where you have your properties, and you pay business license for your laundromat, you have fire inspection every year. So if all this is true, yeah, you are a business, I would apply, right? The worst thing could happen is that you misjudged and you are being declined. I mean, you can't provide false information, but if you're truly honest and you are a business, or you provide, what's your reasoning for thinking that you're a business, and you can justify it with the proper documents, apply. I would not really. Make sure you have proper books. You have monthly books, not just, you know, one set of books, like the total for 2019. You need monthly, annual, like monthly income and expenses for each one of the items that you have throughout the year, and tax returns. That would be the best. That would be my best recommendation on that.
Thank you for the question, Terry. And Laura just happens to be one of her industry expertise is in the world of real estate investors. So any other investors on the call that have questions, you know, you're in a unique company. Did you want to add anything, Michael, to the question, or?
No.
Okay. Very good. Okay, so I asked a friend about back or retro pay. Oh, actually, before we go back to you, Joel and Karen, Faruza raised, we got a hand raised from Faruza. Let me allow you to talk. So Faruza, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead and ask your question.
I just typed my question. It's just about if an independent contractor does not have business bank account with its bank, how would that person would apply for PPA loan? Because like Bank of America, for example, requires business account for them to have business account before they start the application. Is there a way for them to apply if they don't have business bank account with any bank?
Is your current banking relationship with Bank of America?
Right.
Yeah, if you go into a regional or community bank and you're open to moving your banking relationship, they will be more than happy to help you with the applications for the programs.
So what type of bank is that, regional? I mean, I'm not sure.
So do we have a list of a link to give them a list of banks at the end of this that we can provide to everyone that accept SBA loans?
I mean, I'll give a list of options, lending options that I can provide. It's not, so you have to think outside of the banks. So you have to think lenders. So there's many options out there of lenders or credit unions. Surprisingly, I never see credit unions jumping on anything that's lending, but they really jumped in and they're surprising. And I love to see the results. And I'll give, I have a little kind of list of surprise. So stay until the end. I have a list of a few things that you can get some lending alternatives or relief options right now. So I'll give that towards the end, Naomi, if that's okay.
Perfect. Really great. Okay, I'm going to go. I see some Q&A in here. Are new funds coming in? Is that a correct info? I believe yes. If you were there in the
Yes.
beginning, Michael talked about 300. I wrote the number down. What was it? 300 billion. That's in Congress waiting for.
250 billion. Yeah, 250 billion. Then we also have the Fed program. So.
Okay, we're going to talk about that Fed program in just a moment. Let me remind me to come back to that. Okay, Lisa has a question. Why do you think the PPP application does not ask any questions to determine needs so that the banks can't possibly tell which clients really had a drop in revenue, can't afford to pay payroll, and need more help than others? So philosophically, Laura, you first, and then Michael.
Yeah, so it's not a full application. Don't look at it. EIDL and PPP is not a full application. It just asks you the basic information to move things forward. So that's just like almost like a cover letter for the application. As soon as the loan officer gets assigned to your case, you will be asked to drop a lot of documentation to support your numbers, to support your business. Asks you for a lot of documentation. So don't get fooled by the face of the application on both sides. They had to make things move, because if they ask a whole lot of front end information, it would stop the little folk, the little businesses that just don't have it already. So this is actually good for the small businesses that apply. Then get ready. And as soon as you get notified, the loan officer is assigned, you prepare the package. If you can, here's the place where you need to have a CPA, someone good who's doing your books, who's doing your tax returns, will assist you in this. So that would be my comment on that.
Yep, very good. Thank you.
Yeah,
Mike,
and
you wanna add?
they're, you know, again, the banks are not underwriting these loans. They're guaranteed by the federal government. The SBA is using the banks to get the money out to the business owners. Now, the big snafu at the beginning was the bankers all thought it was their money and they were going to put all these criteria on it, and we don't want to deal with, you know, and that's what slowed the process down. They just need to verify, A, you were in business on February 15th. B, you had payroll, and what that payroll was, it has nothing to do with the profitability of your business or not. This is to push out money so that employers can keep employees on the payroll and their businesses in an idle format rather than just shutting down completely.
Perfect, thank you. We have another question. PPP money can be used for other than given on the screen. What type of expense can you claim in other expenses?
For the PPP?
You can pay
Yes.
rent, you can pay mortgage interest, not principal, mortgage interest, and utilities.
Great. Ashley is asking, just clarifying, if I applied for the EIDL and was denied, does that allow me to apply for the bridge loan?
Yes.
And that would be the only relationship I had with the SBA.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, Firuza.
I mean, there was a question up there that was missed, and I think a lot of people have the question. There was a question that was asked by Karen, and it says, what if you applied last week for the EIDL loan and you haven't heard back yet? It was up there.
Yep.
Do you mind if I answer the question?
Please.
Because I have a lot of clients ask,
Of
you know, send
course.
me messages. So for the EIDL, this is the one that you apply on the SBA that we're trying to go on it, and it's closed, so we can't really look at the application right now. So I had a conversation with the SBA last week, and they said a lot of people applied. Their service could not even send the confirmations out to people anymore. And they said they were working to put together a website where you would create a login to track the progress of your loan. So when you apply, I hope that you save the summary of your application, number one. Number two, I hope that you save that page when it gives you the loan number or the loan application number, because they're the two big elements that you need. In case you need to reference it back, those are the two elements that you would need. So I was told that by the end of this week, this is coming directly from my conversation with the SBA, that this week we will, you know, all the applicants that were applied at least this month will have an email in their inbox asking them to create a login on the SBA website, okay, to track your loan. Now, if you have multiple companies, this is happening a lot with people that have multiple companies. I hope that you have used a different email for each one of your companies. It's crucial. It's such a minor element. I have I applied for one client who has 4 companies, and he wanted to use one. Luckily enough, my system did not allow me to have one client with the same 4 entities with the same email. So it was just by luck that we have done that. So keep that in mind, that check your spam folders. If you receive something from the SBA, be on the lookout for that email and log in. Don't call them, because I don't even think they will pick up.
And I think it's also important, especially for this community, to recognize the intent of the EIDL program was not on this scale. If you remember a couple of months ago when tornadoes went through downtown Nashville, the SBA rushes in with the EID, Economic Injury Disaster Loan. They get business owners to sign up. They were within 36 hours, 72 hours, turning around $10,000 grants to the business owners because they needed the liquidity to clear out the rubble and to start their business going so they could keep their momentum in their business. And that was really the intent of the program. So it's a program that's typically used in a very small geographical area, a contained disaster area. But when the president announced that the entire country was a disaster area due to COVID, it opened up the EIDL to every business, because every business was going to suffer some sort of economic injury. And it's just been overwhelmed. Again, $400 billion of application for $10 billion worth of loans.
And just to clarify, Karen said, yes, she saved her application number. Can you use a different email for the same company and apply numerous times? I believe the answer is no.
Yeah, I wish. No. Well, the SBA, no. That my comment on that, or my recommendation, or my strategy moving forward, round 2, round 3, whatever we have from now on, is I will apply in as many places that I can for every one of my clients. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's, again, distinction here. Yeah. So
that's
she was,
PPP.
when Laura was saying that, she was talking about PPP, not EIDL. So
Yeah.
PPP is applying with the bank. You can only accept the PPP loan from one bank, but you can apply to multiple banks. The EIDL, you're applying to the SBA, and you apply for multiple entities. So if you have more than one entity, you can apply for each entity. Go ahead, Michael, you were about to say something.
Mayumi, I please, at this point, refrain from using the online consolidation services. We have heard that some of them are monetizing loan applications, but we want to verify it. And Mayumi, I'll keep you posted as we hear, because that could be an alternative. That's kind of like the second, you hit every bank and then you hit the people online. But our concern is there are a lot of people out there saying, we'll help you with your application. That doesn't say we'll help you get money. And there are a lot of those resources out there that are trying to collect client data for future marketing. So just be very judicious about where you're going to make those applications on the internet.
Yep, very good. Thank you for that. We've got some people, so we do have this streaming live on our Facebook page. So if there is anybody listening from the Facebook Live and you have questions, post your comments in the Facebook Live. We have people monitoring those comments. Sorry, I didn't say that earlier. And they will post your questions in our Zoom live webinar. So if you are listening to our Facebook Live and you have questions, please post your questions in the comments on the Facebook page, and we will bring your questions into the chat. So we have a couple more questions in here. Okay, I have a client owned a C Corp, but owns 100%, but he is a foreign national. Not quite sure what the question is there. I got the comment, but not the question. Is there anything specific about foreign nationals that we need to be aware of?
So
as I read the,
yeah.
Go ahead. Laura.
No, go ahead, Michael.
Well, I mean, as I read the regulations, if the entity is not a foreign entity, it's an American entity. If he's paying himself, a salary, W-2 wages, and, obviously there are payroll expenses and taxes that go with that, then that's going to qualify for the PPP and the EIDL programs.
Yeah, so here's my take. Yeah, here's my take on that. So an LLC, or that's our favorite entity structure for anyone that's foreign in any regard, right? So we put them in an LLC typically, or that's where the lawyers are sending them to. So the problem is that there's no taxation. There's really the income flows to your personal. So if you don't file income tax returns in the United States, that's going to be hard because it's foreign money and it goes outside of the U.S. However, if you file a not resident tax return with the United States, that's a very unique situation. So I say really talk to a specialist, really look at your scenario, and you have a C corp as well. So again, we have to, it all depends on the structure and how you get paid and what's the relationship with the United States, because this is meant to protect the workers and the employees of the United States. The purpose of this program is to not have outrageous unemployment and to save the economy, keep the money flowing, keep the people employed. So that's something that you really have to have a conversation with someone that understands the specifics of.
Yep. Another question, is there any loan available for self-employed such as Uber drivers? I think the questions that we answered earlier to Armand, I'll say, doesn't matter if you're self-employed selling flowers or Uber driver or what. If you're self-employed, you're still eligible. And I think all of the things that Laura and Michael said earlier apply to you as an Uber driver as well. Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, good. I've been self-employed with no, I think this is Brian, and I've been I can't read the rest of that name. I've been self-employed with no paycheck this year because I reinvested in R&D. What are my options for help?
Seek a tax planning.
Tax planning?
Yeah, tax planning. I mean, I'm not trying to make fun of the situation, but you have to have net earnings. If you haven't paid yourself, and this is really common in not necessarily pharmaceutical, but like any medical field, or you're developing Amazon for that matter, their R&D expenses are outrageous, right? But you have to have something. You either have to have wages. So the purpose again of this is if you have employees, to keep them on staff, to not lay off your employees. So if you have wages, yes, you apply. If you have utilities, if you have rent, mortgage interest, yes, apply. If you have working capital, yes. So again, the problem is that the initial application might get skewed because your net earnings are going to be very low because of your R&D. But when you go into full application, you can provide additional information. So if you have any net earnings, right, I would definitely go in and try to review. This is another example of seek help, seek someone that actually understands the law. Look at what do you have. It doesn't, that first application that you submit, either SBA or PPP, is not advantageous to all companies or firms.
And I would say part of his question, he said with no paycheck this year. The calculation for the PPP is 12-month payroll costs divided by 12, and that gives you your average monthly. So, you could use the 2019 fiscal year if you took income in payroll in that year, then you have the numbers. It doesn't matter what you did January through March.
Okay, so I want to acknowledge that we're 3 minutes away from the top of the hour, and I want to respect everyone's time. But I want to, there are a couple more questions. So what I'm going to do is, if my guest presenters will allow a little grace, and those of you who are listening, I hope this has been super valuable to you. Let us know if you're enjoying this conversation. What I'd like to do is take a couple more minutes that go over a little over time, because Laura has some resources, Michael has some resources, and I want to share with you a link so that you know where to go. And I'm actually going to start with my link, and then we go to the resources first, and we'll go back to sharing my screen here a moment. And if we've got a couple minutes after that, we'll go back to a couple more questions, but let's just, so I want to let everyone know, please have my host write this into the chat box for everyone. If you go to cpa-moms.com/COVID, cpa-moms.com/COVID, there is a button that if you click, it should take you, and we were building this, folks, this today to give you access and resources immediately. Clearly, this is not what we do normally, but we wanted to make resources available to you in real time. So come to this page. We are going to, over the next few days and ongoingly, as long as this happens, we're going to pack this page with resources. We're not there yet. So I want to just make a distinction. I believe, and I don't know, and I haven't tested it. If you click this link, it'll take you to a, this page. this page gives you access directly to Laura. Laura, some of you have questions that are unique. They're a little bit more complex, and you need actual professional advice, which we cannot do on a webinar because we don't have all of the situation. So if you click that link at the top, it'll take you to the page. Laura is offering her time. She's got lots of clients. She does not need to be doing this. She just wants to provide this resource to people who actually need professional advice, which means that she goes into your particular situation and helps you navigate what your options are. If you or somebody that you know needs more than just this broader stroke conversation, please click that link, and it's $99 for her to sit down and have a conversation and strategic advice for you to go through your unique situation. You know, and she'll talk about what your options are afterwards, if any. And so that's available to you. If you're somebody who needs more, you know that you need more than that. It's not just strategic advice. You actually know you don't have your financials together. You know you want to apply. You don't have any books. You don't have whatever. You need tax planning. You need strategy. You need more than just a conversation. Then you can book a free consultation to talk about the scope of what your needs are. And Laura can walk you through all of that and give you a quote, because it's going to be way more. If you just want a one and done strategic conversation, or you need something just specific to COVID, then you can go there and do that. So I wanted to make those resources available to anyone who's listening. And you should be all set and good to go. So let me turn it back over to you, Laura and Michael, for your final words and the resources that you had. And Michael, I definitely want you to talk about the Fed Reserve Program as well. So Laura, you first.
Yeah, and thank you so much for listening. I love the questions. I love the uniqueness of every business, and this is what fuels me to see how unique we are. And if you truly feel like that you want to apply yourself and you don't know where to go, when you go to that application, the one thing I want to mention is make sure you have tax returns or they have books. For the $99 to really make it worth your time, I would really go in, drill the numbers, see exactly where you go. I know exactly what the applications look like. I will tell you what numbers you qualify for and what you can put in the application. You can go and do it yourself, or if you need help, you can go ahead to us. So just keep that in mind. We have to look at specific numbers if you want to make the most of your buck. If you book that appointment, have your tax returns at least 2 years, 2018, 2019. If you don't have 19, 17, 18 would help. And your books. If you have QuickBooks, you can share an account with me. You can print out, you can whatever, but share those with me to make the most of your time and to get the best value. Now, let me just say something that gets me really excited. Even though the money or depleted the funds for now, there's many other options. And I love that every single situation where we're out of something else shows up. So this is I love moments like this. And I want to share with you additional funding options. And again, if you look at a strategy call with me, I'll go over this with you, what applies to you. So I'm just going to list a few of them. There's many state and local options, depending on your state, your specific situation. We have Chamber of Commerce, depending on eligibility based on your zip code, right? We can have grants of $5,000 or so. We have we talked about SBA, Emergency Bridge Loan Program. We have Facebook grants, Google grants. We have PayPal Working Capital. Okay, there's some caveat there, who can apply and who's not. We have PayPal business loan, minority business loans, USDA rural development loans, grants. We have investment capital and Main Street lending programs. And again, depending on how much money you need, might be some other alternative relief programs for you. So if you really need the money, or you have a business that's really dependent on revenue right now, or depending on additional working capital, I would say $99 is worth the time. Book that. We'll go through each one of the options, see what makes sense for you right now. And again, I'm not making money on this. I'm trying to help the community. It's not my time to get rich. It's my time to give back to you.
A whole lot more than $99.
It's my time to give back to you.
I mean, and I would say there's a CPA coach that's out there trying to tell their CPAs to this is your time to, charge the business owner $3,500 to consult for them. And I engage with the CPAs, and I try to tell them, look, business owners are scared. You don't hit them over the head with a $3,500 consulting fee. You do as much as you can for as little as possible, because the objective is in 90 days, 120 days, 180 days, when this is blown and the dust is settling, you've developed a trust-based relationship for being there with the accurate information to get them over the hump. If you paid them $3,500, they're going to forget you. They're going to say, hey, we paid them. That's what we paid them for. And then if you mess up and
yeah, I mean,
you don't have the right information, you're going to get blamed. So this is all hands on deck to help the business owner. $99 is very reasonable for the amount of time that Laura's put into it and the information she'll be able to give you.
Yeah, and I just want to say one thing, like, no matter, like, I've been in this and I have clients who are paying me, are saying, you know, I want to pay you to do because I just can't trust myself, or I don't trust my husband filing out any paperwork with the SBA especially. So he filed for an LLC and he did it wrong twice. So just so you know, no one can guarantee the loan, no one can guarantee the amount. What you can have and what I can tell you is that once you look at the you know, we as trained professionals, we can look in your books and see how much and how you present your financials, how we look and explain the numbers that we qualify, and we say we almost like you're tracing from here to here how much should you be receiving, right? Or how much you should be qualified for. So that's what you get. Someone who actually takes a look at your financials, understands the numbers, and translates those numbers into a loan application that actually has a better chance, not guarantee, has a better chance to get funded. So
and
that's all I have to say, yeah, on that.
And I want to underscore something, because I've been talking about this for years, and this is my chance to actually explain the difference in a way that people will understand. There is a difference between a CPA, a certified public accountant, somebody who is at the same level of a doctor in the medical industry. The CPA is the same level of skill and experience and expertise in the accounting industry. And a lot of people are like, well, what do I need a CPA for? I have a bookkeeper. My receptionist does QuickBooks. Here it is, right here, ladies and gentlemen, a CPA. We have a level of expertise and distinction about what those numbers mean that go way beyond what a piece of technology can do. A CPA can take a piece of paper and a pen and recreate your financials from a piece of paper and a pen and a calculator. We don't need QuickBooks to create your balance sheet and P&L. Why? Because we understand the mechanics technically of what it means, what it's for, what those numbers represent, and banks like what we produce for them because we understand what financials are supposed to look like. And so I say this to really emphasize the importance of understanding what a financial expert is at this time that is qualified to help you. Your bookkeeper may or may not have that level of expertise or education or experience. So a lot of bookkeepers who never took accounting courses, never mind the level of experience and distinction you have to get to be a licensed CPA. So please understand, when we talk about accounting experts, we're literally talking about CPAs right now. Yes, there are several who have skill sets and you have those relationships, great, but don't go walking down to the local Bookkeepers R Us hoping and expecting that they're going to give you the same level of expertise as a CPA will. So please, I want to make that distinction really, really clear.
Right, and you get one trip to the trough. They're gonna, when you get your loan offer and you accept it, you're done. So if you've miscalculated something in how you put in for the PPP and you're low, that was your mistake.
Or you misrepresented it, or you didn't understand all the opportunity, or any variation of you didn't understand your numbers. And yeah, so really good. Thank you. Michael, why don't you tell us real quick? I know we're still running over time. Thank you for those of you who are hanging out. We'll get this recording.
Great, yeah. So
Fed Reserve, please.
So really understand, in the wake of 2008, a lot of the, the Treasury and the Federal Reserve all got beat up because their main focus was Wall Street and not on Main Street. So that's why Treasury came in and is using the SBA to get the money out for the PPP. What the Fed has announced is that they are coming out with a program called the Main Street Lending Facility. And it's a $2.3 trillion program, $2.3 trillion program, of which $600 billion is earmarked in two different facilities. One is for new loans and another is for expanding existing loans to participants that qualify. And therefore, businesses that have as many as 10,000 employees, so it can be one employee, it can be 10,000 employees, or as much as $2.5 billion in revenue. So you could have $1 in revenue or $2.5 billion in revenue. So it's a much larger target area than what the PPP loan is. And the requirements really are, come down to, are you profitable? And just to sum up, because I know we're running over time, and I'm going to get, Mayumi, I'm going to give you a couple of links that you can share with the community and information on this. But the loan is calculated off EBITDA, positive EBITDA from the last year. And it's 4 times your EBITDA. So if your loan, the loan range, the lowest the loan will be issued at is $1 million, the highest is 25. So if you're working with a client and they don't have $250,000 of EBITDA in the last year, highly likely they're not going to qualify for a loan. They're going to be too low.
Okay.
But if they did have the 250, they could qualify for $1 million loan. And how they calculate that based on existing loans and what the differentials are built out into the law. The institutions, the lenders who are eligible for this are U.S. insured depository institutions, bank holding companies, and U.S. savings and loan holding companies. So you're not going to get credit unions involved, but those are going to be the 3 entities that this is going to be pushed down through.
Very good. Thank you so much. So I want to, there's been some questions. Where do you go to book with Laura? Right here, go to cpa-moms.com/COVID, click book. This should say book a strategy session for $99. So we'll get this button fixed so that it's clearer. If you click on this, it'll take you right to the form where you can get your information, pay your $99, and on you go. If you want a direct link to that page, you go to cpa-moms.com/COVID99, /COVID99. We can have somebody post that into our chat. It'll take you directly to how you book the consult. Again, the other form that's down here is if you don't want just a 1-hour, one-off strategy specifically, that is exclusively to talk about COVID loan options. If you need a bigger comprehensive conversation about somebody taking over your books or tax planning or anything more than that, you need to book a consultation. There is no cost for the consultation. This is not to replace the strategy session. So we'll know. So please just focus here. Just book a consult if you want to talk more about COVID specific options for you and your company. And again, that's intended to be one and done. If you want her to help you or her team to help you get loans, then she'll talk about those options in the strategy session, but that's intended to be one and done. Thank you so much for both of you to provide these resources. Thank you everyone who participated. There was one question about nonprofits. All of this is available to 501c3 tax exempt entities and nonprofits, yes?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I thought so, yeah. Okay, so I just want to wrap it up and just say to our guest presenters, really just thank you. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for the time that you've invested to get yourself truly knowledgeable and current. As you can tell, ladies and gentlemen, this is changing every single day. And our intention is to find the most trusted resources that we rely on as CPA professionals and then share that with our entire network. If you're a CPA, we want you to know this so you can better serve your clients. If you are an entrepreneur, we want you to know this so that you know what to ask your CPA or what to do on your own. No matter what, we're here to be a resource for you. We're working as quickly as we can. Go back to that COVID page. Give us about 24 hours to get all the links and the resources and the connections and all those things. We're getting it up as fast as we can. And I just so thank everyone for your time, your attention, and thank you specifically for Laura, Michael, for both of you for what you provided to our community today and always. So thanks again. We'll see you guys again soon. If we've got another big update, we will do another webinar if it's significant enough of a change. Otherwise, just keep checking back to the COVID, cpa-moms.com/COVID page for resource links. If they're not there yet, give us 24 hours. We'll get them up there for you. Michael, Laura, final words before we complete. How about Michael?
Well, it's a blessing to be able to support what you're doing, Mayumi. From the moment I first met you, I think what you're doing is revolutionary, and whatever we can do, I pop in and out on the Facebook group. However I can help and assist CPAs, stay-at-home moms, independent entrepreneurs to maximize their efforts and their revenue streams. That's what it's all about.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate that and appreciate your support, ongoing generosity and resources. It's been, you know, all throughout the years, just constantly making available resources to our community. So thank you. Laura, final words?
Yeah, so what I want to say is that, you know, you are in business for a reason. And if you have a passion for your business, I really want you to think, how much is it worth to save the business? So if you really depend on this money, I would do whatever I can to save it. You know, you don't know, we still don't know how long this is going to last. So think in long term. Think, you know, if this is going to last just another month, how can you make it? But if it lasts more than 3 months, what are you going to do? So really trust yourself, because you had a passion that really drove you to go into a business. Really trust that passion. Choose someone that you can trust to assist you. And if you can't find anyone, you can do it. You know, try to get educated in the least amount of information, as long as you're being truthful, very objective, and how you're not trying to mislead and you're not trying to do anything. Trust yourself and trust someone. If you can't do it, trust someone else who can do it for you. But apply. You know, don't wait. If you over process this, you think, oh, I have to put these things together. If you overthink it, you're gonna miss the boat. So act now, go ahead and apply. I want to give you last tip. There's one bank, at least one lender that I know that still takes PPP application. That's cabbage.com. Okay. So Naomi, can we put that in the link there? It's Cabbage. That's spelled KABBAGE.com. Cabbage with a K. Cabbage.com. This is the preferred lender of Intuit, and I'm very happy the IRS really connected with Intuit for this stimulus packages right now. But that's the final tip there. You want to apply for the PPP loan, you can still do it right now. Go on the cabbage.com, apply for the loan. They're still taking and approving applications as of right now. Now, the funding stopped, they're taking the applications knowing the money will coming. So do what you have to do for your business. And if I can do anything for you to help you drive the business, remember, they're still planning after you get the money. You don't get the money, and you, as Michael said at the beginning, you don't just take the money and you spend it and then you think, what have I done? Do the right planning, be proactive, be knowledgeable. Okay, and thank you so much for listening to us. I hope this made sense. We didn't speak accounting terms. I hope it was as simple and as easy to digest as possible. And I wish you the best of luck in your business.
Likewise. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great rest of your evening. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.